What's up, everyone? Welcome to Recover and Ready. We're talking Versus System 2 PCG today. And today we are doing a deck tech on Pixie Maximus, a deck that some of you know. And if you don't, well, get ready to dive in. With me today, we got Recover and Ready team member Hampton. Hampton, you want to say what's up?
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
All right. So before we get to the deck, let's talk goals. Why are we talking about this deck in the first place? Hampton, go ahead and tell us.
Well, we're talking about this deck because a couple things. We want to discuss kind of the key concepts of the deck, the combo, familiarize people who maybe don't know the combo or are new to the game and want to learn about this kind of thing. Provide information on like how to fight meta or fight combo, and really just to generate discussion around the deck itself. And we're going into a big event coming up with Incursion, and there's going to be tons of combo, so we kind of want to talk about this list and this combo in general. Yeah.
Awesome. And before we get to the list, make sure you like and subscribe. Use that comment section to tell us your thoughts on the deck and your strategies and all that. And of course, the deck link is in the description. Okay, so first of all, Hampton, you played this deck at Backyard Battles number 4. This is a little ongoing series that we have going on in my backyard where we do like a barbecue and stuff, and we do prizes. We had a custom playmat for this one, and the context was multiverse. We had, I think, 8 players, 7 or 8 players. So we will be having an incursion list that we're going to talk about at the very end of the video, but we're going to start off by talking about the multiverse list that Hampton played with. Hampton, go ahead and tell us how the event went.
Yeah, the event was really fun. It was absolutely a nail biter. The deck is challenging to pilot and requires a lot of careful execution, and staying alive is a key factor. I think Matt, you can attest to this, but there were multiple times in the tournament where I was like a turn away from death and I managed to squeak it out. So it was great. I also played Ready and Recover member Joe in the finals, which was on Silver Surfer, which was a sick match. And it was super fun. It's super hard. It's hard, I'll tell you what.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and start talking about the deck. And rather than start with the main character, we're just going to start with the combo itself. Once again, there might be some new players that aren't familiar, and we're going to try to do like a real deep dive here. So Pixie Max, it's a one-turn kill combo. You got to have Pixie in play. She's going to get you to Maximus, and Maximus is going to be the thing that basically kills your opponent. So Hampton, go ahead and tell us how this interaction works.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, in order for this combo to work, Pixie Maximus, you need the only characters in your deck are 4 copies of Pixie and 4 copies of Maximus. And what Pixie allows you to do is, for a blue, she has hallucinogenic dust. It allows you to reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a character that's not in play. So it can't be Pixie, it's always going to be Maximus when you activate this. So Maximus comes into play with her ability. She has a very specific line of text that says, at the end of the turn, you KO that character. And so that's really important because Maximus allows us to do a certain superpower, which is 4 yellows, right? Maximus comes into play with Pixie's ability. You pay 4 yellows, and then Maximus' superpower goes off, which is Usurp the Throne. So what happens with this ability is you move Maximus to your opponent's side and you KO their main character, and Maximus becomes their main character. So you're like, oh, okay, I get a 5/5 with 2 health and range, whatever. But because of that Pixie delayed trigger, all you have to do as the player is pass the turn. The Pixie's trigger will go off, and Maximus will die from that trigger. And that's basically how you win the game with the combo.
Awesome. So in short, you're going to play Pixie. She's going to let you free play Maximus out of your deck, and he's going to die at the end of turn because of Pixie's ability, but ultimately you're going to pass him to your opponent first, right? So that way your opponent dies. Sounds really cool and everything, but it's pretty location hungry, right? We're playing 4 Arcadias and 4 Laboratories for Pixie for her blue ability. We're playing 2 Academies and 4 New Otilon for Maximus's ability. He uses a whopping 4 to fire his ability off, and we're using Next of All Realities, which both of these cards have access to, right? And even though it is a very location-hungry deck, and this seems like, oh wow, we got to put a lot of cards together, right? You got to have Pixie, you got to have at least 1 blue, and then you have to have 4 yellows. That's like a 6-card combo, ultimately.
Yeah.
All of that said, historically, this combo works, right? And there's been people that have piloted it to great success in a variety of contexts, right? It might not be the thing to play in every single context, but in some contexts, absolutely. A deck full of a ton of locations and Pixie and Maximus and a few other things will get you there, right? So let's talk main character. There's a variety of main characters that people have played with this combo. You have Starlord, aka Shadowcat, Kate Pride, etc., etc. She's one of them. But people also, for example, recently we've seen people use Spider-Man, the pro registration Spider-Man, to great success. Some people have used Flash Thompson as their main here, and there might be other ones too that people are using that I'm not mentioning. But go ahead and tell us real quick. Why did you choose Starlord for this particular combo as opposed to the other ones?
Yeah, so Kitty is an incredible card, and historically I think one of the more traditional ways to play the combo. But I do think that she offers some of the most. So one thing that she offers the most is that she's dual team, and dual team is really important because your deck has to be primarily plot twist locations and like equipment. So because you only have 8 slots for characters, so you need to have. You don't want to fill your deck with fluff, and I think other heroes tend to have to do that. Flash doesn't, but we'll get the why Flash isn't. I don't think is as strong a main character as Starlord in a bit. But Starlord is really crucial because she gets a ton of resources to use her searching for something ability, which is during the build, you pay a red, you draw 2, discard 2. So it's a great way to see a ton of cards. You're not only seeing your cards per turn, but you're also seeing an extra 2. So you're seeing 4 cards every turn cycle as long as you're hitting that red. And if you're running the 4 reds, 4 nowheres, 4... gifted youngsters school, you got tons of filtering, right, to do. So filtering is the name of the game, right? You're goldfishing, you're trying to get to your combo pieces, you're trying to get, to your MC or your SCs. And another thing that makes her stand out to me is her level up condition, right, is you play a space location and she gets an XP. When you've done that twice, she levels up into an 8/5 with range. So she stays 5 defense, but she gets a massive attack. Now, we're not really going to be attacking very much, really, unless we're trying to get to some character that's struggling or, making things awkward for us. But the reason I think that she's the strongest option is that intangibility ability she gains when she levels up. So she keeps. Well, let me back up, actually. So she keeps her draw ability. That's huge. She keeps her filter, because you can keep filtering when she levels. But now she has intangibility. So all those space locations that you've been filtering, now you've played them. Now you can turn those space locations into basically strikes that happen in the opponent's hand. So let's say you hit it gold and you level up on 2, right? You know that on turn 3, your main enemy is JJ. Jessica Jones comes down and says, players, you can't activate a superpower with a yellow symbol. Maximus,
no
obviously.
Maximus.
Yeah, so no Maximus, right? That's horrible. We hate that, right? So the turn 3 is coming up. Well, let me flip my space, and then what she does is she takes her attack, which is 8, and she applies that to a strike in the opponent's hand. So let's say that your opponent has like a JJ. JJ has 3 defense, right? So you apply 3 of your 8 to that. Maybe they have another character that has 4 defense. You apply 4 to that. So Starlord can basically just like start checking people out of their hand, and when she strikes them, your opponent just discards those cards. So you get to basically not only have a really good filter ability, but you also have this, I think, secretly one of her best abilities, which is to take care of problematic threats in the opponent's hand.
Yeah, so I mean, for the Magic players out there, basically what we're saying is that every space location that she can flip, we're thought seizing our opponent. And it might not be just a normal thought seize, it might be a double thought seize in some cases. We might not be able to hit some of their like later drop cards that have really big defense, but essentially we can rip out a lot of, well, specifically supporting characters from our opponent's hand, right? And that's powerful. Anyone that has played hand disruption in other games, knows the power of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super powerful, and it basically, if you have the space, which you would have if you leveled, you basically get multiple strikes at the hand, and then if you need to clear any defenders for whatever reason to get to a pesky hero, a pesky character, you now also have 8 attack on range. So she's just very versatile and has like a lot of play, really.
Awesome. Yeah, great tools. She digs deep to get that combo online as fast as possible. She rips out cards from your opponent's hand. She's definitely doing things. Well, let's talk about her locations that you're playing, right? For her specifically, we're playing 4 Training Ground, 4 School for the Gifted Youngsters, 4 Nowhere, and 4 Space. Most of those are probably going to go to your filtering ability, your draw 2, discard 2. In the Space, and the Nowhere also ties into the level 2 ability, right? So sort of, our main theme here starting off, now that we've talked about ripping cards out of their hand and such, the bread and butter of what she is doing is digging deep, right? We're gold fishing. We're just like, we're going to play some solitaire over here with a little bit of interaction on the side. So in addition to her use of reds for gold fishing, we're going to include Global Information Network as another card to goldfish even more, right? And Hampton, can you maybe tell us a little bit about the role of Global in the deck? And I mean, it seems like it's a card that's good enough that everyone's playing it, despite the fact that it encroaches a little bit on Maximus's yellow that he needs. Tell us a little bit about Global, why you think particularly Kate Pryde is a better Global Information Network deck than the other possible main characters.
So, this is one of those cards that's going to come up later as sadly something you can't play in Incursion, obviously. But one of the reasons this card is so powerful is that, Kitty relies on, her searching for something. Her draw ability is a red, right? So whenever I use her ability, I don't have to worry about using a yellow or something like that to pay into that and to take away from Maximus. So whenever I use Global Information Network, I'm only ever using my 8 wilds, my Nowheres, and my School for Gifted Youngsters to activate it. So that way I don't cut into Maximus's yellows, and I don't have to worry about, being short when it comes time to combo. Global Information Network is like, eventually you're going to get to a point in the game where you don't need to search, you don't need to draw 2, discard 2 anymore. You just need like 1 or 2 pieces left. So you can do during the build, you pitch a Nowhere, you look at the top 5, maybe you need Pixie, or maybe you need a blue to activate Pixie. Now you get exactly what you need, and you're still in build, so you can still recruit, then you recruit Pixie, then you go off. All of these abilities are so strong because they're all done during the build phase, which then allow us to go into our recruit and into our main phase to do the combo. So that's why this card is just like so important next to Starlord's ability here.
Right. Yeah, and I like what you're hinting at here, that if you're playing something like Flash Thompson, or if you're playing like Spider-Man or something like that as your main, ultimately those guys are already on yellows. So they're all fighting for space with Global in terms of like their ability to use their own abilities to further the game plan, right? And so the fact that Kate Pryde is on red, I like how there's that distinction there, right? There's not as much territory that's being crowded up by by all one thing, right? So let's go ahead and let's talk about how do you survive until you get the combo together, right? Obviously you're digging as fast as you can. You got your reds, you got your globals, but you still have to make it, however many turns until you can combo off. And while everyone would love to be like, oh, I open my opening hand with just a ton of yellows and a pixie and a blue. That's not always the case, right? So how do you get there if you need to survive?
Yeah, so I think this combo, it requires a ton of setup. In other games, like more than a 2-card to 3-card combo is very difficult to set up, and this is like a million pieces. So it's not for the faint of heart. You're most likely going to either just about die or almost get there and then die. So you have to play very defensively, and you have to time everything right. One of the luxuries, though, is that at this point in the game, since this combo first kind of came about, there are tons of new ways to defend Starlord. You've got kind of the tried and true shock to the system, spine to the covers, but now with House of X, she gets some of those tools, like the new plot twist, Defend the Weak. Defend the Weak is just 4 more copies of Find Cover that also happens to not care about it being a defender. It could just be whatever. And it also, it gives a little bit of a +1 to the attack if that's ever relevant. But that's huge, having more, what am I trying to say here? It has more redundancies, right? Yeah. And you also now have In Good Hands. In Good Hands is just an incredible plot twist on its own, is just to cancel a strike, but because Pixie, Maximus, and Starlord, they're all good characters, so you can run In Good Hands and you get 4 copies of a cancel strike. And most of the time, Starlord, she has 5 defense, and when she levels up she has 5 defense, so they might not be going all in on her, or they might just be going in with their big beater or something, and then you have an In Good Hands to slam that down and stop the attack. So you have lots of ways to keep yourself alive, and it's just about properly taking wounds when you need to take wounds, properly defending when you need to defend, and just cross your fingers and be like, please let it line up for me. It's a lot.
And ultimately what you're looking for is you want to line up a scenario where every time you play one of these plot twists, you are essentially time walking your opponent, right?
Absolutely,
you want the scenario where when you play the plot twist, your opponent has to be like, okay, I passed the turn, I didn't put a wound on you. Sometimes that's going to be possible, sometimes it's not, but that's what ultimately you're going for, right?
It's exactly what I'm going for. I'm always trying to basically, time walk is a great idea. How can I shut down my opponent's game plans? How can I give myself more health, right? I'm trying to find more health, which is basically what those cards represent to me is 8 health or something.
It could be looked at every time you play one successfully, you bought yourself an extra turn, right? Or it's gaining an extra health in that sense, and that's powerful, right? All you need is more turns, right? How many turns do I need to combo off and win? I can buy myself one more. I can buy myself one more. Mm-hmm. So let's move on. Let's talk about the Nullifier, right? This is the last piece in the deck that we haven't discussed yet. This is a card that it's been around for quite a while, since Shield versus Hydra came out, which was one of the early sets. I think what everyone hates to have happen to them is for their opponent to drop a turn 2 Nullifier and be able to call the keyword or superpower that is potentially tied into their opponent's level up ability, right? It's get wrecked. But let's talk about Nullifier in this particular deck. What are you trying to achieve with the Nullifier here to help you get to assemble your combo without dying?
So there's 2 things that basically completely kill the deck. One is Jessica Jones, because she turns off Maximus' ability to do anything, and the other is Invisible Boy, who can pay yellow and take away his superpower, right? Or, remove it or whatever. So those are 2 ways that basically, if those things happen to you, it's really difficult to get back into the game. If they drop the JJ, it's really hard to deal with because it has 3 health. You're not an aggressive deck, really. If they defend the JJ, you can't get to the JJ, then you just lose. And if they play Invisible Boy and activate Invisible Boy, there's nothing you can do about that. So Nullifier is just a great catch-all. It can remove whichever thing you think is most pressing. It's only 2 resources, so it's super cheap. You can put it on Starlord, then defend Starlord, because you're trying to do that anyway. But it's it's just such a powerful tool, and because it's only 2 resources and Pixie's only 2 resources, it's really easy to line up a turn where you do both the things, or you have Nullifier down and then the next turn you follow up with a Pixie. So it's just about timing, because they can drop the JJ and be like, I'm good, I'm locked in, there's nothing I can do, they can't get through this. You drop the Nullifier, you call JJ's power, they're like, uh-oh, you drop the Pixie, you flip the blue, and that's it, right? So it's a super powerful tool, and just just a crazy versatile card.
Yeah, so kind of what I'm kind of seeing here is ultimately you typically don't want to put yourself in a situation where you slam that Nullifier and then have to defend yourself through it, unless you just have a ton of plot twists and that you can get there soon. But I like what you're saying here is that as early as turn 4, Pixie costs 2, yeah. As early, you can just pocket that Nullifier until you're ready to go. Because Pixie's literally that cheap, right? And
absolutely,
if you were able to combo off on turn 4, it's not like that. It's not like you were waiting till the depths of the game to do it. That's a pretty early turn to win. The price is right. It's a price to move here. I like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we basically got through the deck. We talked about what are the pieces that help us filter. What are the locations that we need, kind of need to assemble to make this happen? How Pixie and Maximus work together, how to defend ourselves and such. Let's just go real quick to what sets do we need in order to build this version that you played in a multiverse setting, and then let's talk quickly about what changes you would make in order to play this in Incursion, right? Sets needed: Monsters Unleashed, Into the Darkness, Defenders, Marvel Battles, A-Force, Galactic Guardians, Shield vs. Hydra, Cosmic Avengers, Crossover 4, and House of X. And of course, I recommend you tune the deck according to your preferences and your collection, right? You don't have to use these particular sets in this exact list, right? But, maybe you have a little bit of a shell here that can inspire you in some way. So with that in mind, let's go to Incursion adjustments. Dun dun dun. We are getting rid of Global Information Network and Nullifier because these are banned in Incursion. We just came up really quick with a few ideas here of what you might do, and if you guys have other things that you're thinking about that you might do in this particular context, let us know in the comments. But Hampton, tell us real quick, what do you think? What would you put in the place of these cards?
Yeah, so losing Global Information Network is huge. I guess one thing you could say is at least I don't have to think about losing my yellows anymore. So I guess there's that. But losing Nullifier is significant because now there's the only way to deal with a card like Invisible Boy is to strike their hand. I believe Invisible Boy has 8 defense, right? So you can strike him from the hand, I guess.
Yeah, 5/8. I think he's a 5/8.
Yeah, something like that. So basically you can either strike Invisible
3/8?
Boy now. Yeah, 3/8 maybe. Anyway, the point is that that's now the only way to deal with someone like Invisible Boy is to strike him from the hand. So he's your number one enemy, I think. Otherwise, I recommend putting in Serpent Crown. Serpent Crown is really expensive, so it's not always going to be ideal. Sometimes you might lose before then, or if you can make it till then, great. But at least Serpent Crown, you can drop it on the JJ and steal their JJ, and suddenly they think they're good, but now you have the JJ, and now you can go off. So that's probably good change. And then for the Global Information Network, I'm really not sure. I think maybe give them a lift, stay down. These are some plot twists that I think give you a little bit of more range, like giving your character flight. Maybe you can fly over and hit a JJ. Stay down, just take care of pesky characters with extra health. But those are just some options, I think. I don't know exactly what it would look like without Global Information Network and stuff like that, but these are just some, and I'm sure there's other options, but I think you know, and also there's absolutely other heroes you can play, like we mentioned before. You know, there are like Flash Thompson and Spider-Mans of the world. You just have to be really careful with those cards. I tried Flash for a while. I found him to be just inconsistent. The fact that you don't always have your draw ability, sometimes you're Agent Venom, so you lose your draw ability, and then, you know, you're using yellows into that draw ability, so I don't know. I just didn't find it wasn't consistent enough, and you didn't have as much control, you know. So, but these are just some options. I don't really know exactly what it looks like for Incursion, but hopefully, if you guys have any ideas, definitely let us know.
Yeah, this will, you know, give you a place to start if you don't really know where to start. And otherwise, we hope that you guys tell us what you would play in Incursion.
Yeah,
use that comment section. So yeah, I think we're about ready to wrap it up here. Hampton, what else you want to tell these guys?
Not much, you know. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and for being an incredible community. This deck is super fun to play. It's really challenging and really stressful, but it's super rewarding when you go off. But otherwise, you know, just, you know, give us the comments, likes, subscribes, everything. Until next time, we're recover ready, and thank you so much for joining us.